Hello and welcome to Woke Watch, an ongoing series of videos where I find the wokest stories from around the world and together we pick them apart. And generally, I try and stay away from politics, particularly British politics, on this channel. But next year, in the UK, we'll be heading into a general election. And the choice of voting for either of the two main parties will be like choosing which of your legs you'd rather have broken. Either we continue with the current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who not only wasn't elected by the electorate, but is also the richest man in history to hold the office of Prime Minister. Or, which is more likely, Labour will get elected. Labour, of course, the party of the working people. And the leader of the opposition is Sir Keir Starmer, a knight of the realm who was privately educated and used to work as a barrister, because that's very working class. Not only that, his name's Keir, K-I-E-R. But when I hear someone say Kia, I think of the Korean car company. If someone asked me, what do you think of Kia? I'd say they're overpriced, but their excellent 7-year warranty probably balances it out. And last week, Sir Keir Starmer, at the Labour Party conference, had a protester throw glitter over him. But he is so dull, it's probably the first time anyone noticed he was there. So, I made a video on this. A few weeks ago at the Conservative Party conference, the Prime Minister said a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and went on to explain that we shouldn't be bullied into believing anything else. He's actively pushing back against woke ideology, and I'm not a big fan of the man, but I'm a fan of that policy, because it's ridiculous to think that a doctor should have to say, "Excuse me, madam, I need to examine your testicles." But now Labour, who by definition of being the opposition have to find something opposed to the government, are putting forth plans for a new law which, if they're elected, and there's a very good chance they will be possibly the wokest piece of legislation ever. This law would criminalise misgendering, simply using the wrong pronouns, or rather, not using a person's preferred pronouns. And this would mean misgendering would be comparable to racism or religious persecution. So if I met a biological man who I referred to as he, but that individual used the pronouns they, them, I could face up to 2 years in prison. Now, there's no way this law would actually function. Because, first of all, if we take our aforementioned hypothetical scenario where I have referred to a biological man as he, but this individual goes by they, them, in court the prosecution would have to prove malicious intent, that I was calling this person he and him just to cause him emotional distress. Sorry, them emotional distress. Whereas I'm sure the defence could argue that most men go by he, him. It may be that I wasn't listening when this person was explaining their pronouns. Also, I can't see the court system going out of their way to send someone down for 2 years for referring to a man as him. Not only that, the state of the British prison system is dire. They are overcrowded. There are now proposals that convicted rapists, without the G, could escape custodial sentences. Now, for me, I'd go with that. I don't think sex offenders should be sent to prison. I think they should be tortured to death. And finally, this law would prioritise someone's feelings over objective truth. In effect, it would make reality illegal. But if this law came into being, I think it would set a dangerous precedent. Because we know that the woke love to get people cancelled, doxed, fired from their jobs, harassed, etc. Because being woke is about inclusion and love and kindness, but only for people who think exactly the same way that you do. And to be honest, if the biggest issue in your life is someone not using the pronouns you prefer, life's pretty fucking sweet. Or at least that's what I thought.
I tried calling friends, nobody's picking up, so I'm gonna dump this here. It's the middle of the day, I completely understand, but I just had a really harrowing experience at work. I have this one coworker who simply refuses to use the correct pronouns for me. I've called her out every time she misgenders me, and she just is resigned to not change. And today just broke something in me. I just snapped. I ended up yelling at her after the 3rd time she misgendered me, and within like 30 minutes, like, I use they, them pronouns. And she got so defensive. And I just started explaining to her, like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. Like, you need to at least make an attempt. And she popped off, got upset, got defensive. What are you going to do about it? And I just said, I'm going to be really hurt and sad. Like, that's all I can do about it. And the worst part is that at that point, my boss, who claims to be so woke and, like, happy and joyous and making a safe, positive environment for everybody, gangs up on me with her and says, like, Carson, like, shut up, this is not the time for a political statement. And I was upset, rightfully so, but was trying to take such a level-headed approach to it of, like, this is not a political statement. My identity is not a political statement. It's just my identity. All I'm asking you to do is respect that. And it really is within our own community that people have the most rampant transphobia.
That individual, they bang on for another 2 minutes in that clip. Now, obviously, that person's in the USA, but imagine if they had a law to back up their hurt feelings, because that's all it is. And my issue with those obsessed with pronouns, mostly trans and non-binary militant types, is firstly the sense of entitlement and the privilege that demands that we change not only the way we speak, but they want us to change the way we think to fit in with their worldview. Now, on X, formerly Twitter recently, there was a poll asking what is non-binary. Only 3% of those who responded said it was a real thing. The other 97%, including myself, said either it's attention-seeking, narcissism, or a combination of the two. Because imagine if I, looking like this, put a wig on and said, from now on, I'm a woman, everyone has to refer to me as she, her.
I was just referred to as sir before I even spoke at this restaurant, so off to a good start.
And thus far, we've only touched on conventional pronouns. She, her, he, him, they, them. What about the neo-pronoun brigade, the people who just make words up and any fucking thing can be how they identify themselves? Strap yourselves in for this.
Okay. All right. Are you ready? Let's get started. Do you see this person next to me? E is my friend. C has had to put up with a lot to get to where Per is today. I just want to let Glint know that Thon is valid, that ver pronouns are valid, and that Sarah identity is valid. I wish Void all the best, and look forward to maybe even seeing some of their lovely content someday. Please, treat them with respect, and I'm sure A will respect you too. So how did that feel?
How is anyone meant to keep up? Because people who use neo-pronouns can change their pronouns whenever they see fit. So it would be a crime not to go along with whatever they decide to call themselves that morning. Imagine getting arrested because you, the viewer, you referred to a biological man as he, but the police inform you that individual today identifies as a Cornish pasty. And that's neo-pronouns. What about people who are gender fluid? Being gender fluid means a person can change their gender identity every day. One day they can be male, the next day they can be female, or rather they can be a man or a woman, or both, or neither. It's like being non-binary with no fixed point. But some gender fluid people, it isn't every day, it can be every hour. Or more than that. Would you have to check with these people before every sentence to make sure you weren't misgendering them? And I don't know how it works. Does a gender fluid person walk along the street and if a black cat crosses their path or the wind changes direction, now I'm a woman? I would be very nervous to have sex with a gender fluid female because I could be ploughing away and just as I hit the vinegar stroke, I don't know, the moonlight hits her eye and she goes, now I'm a man, you're gay. And I would have said that men don't have vaginas, but it's 2023, that's probably a fucking hate crime. So that is the woke nonsense being proposed by the Labour Party, the party more than likely to run the next British government under the leadership of Keir Picanto. And it strikes me maybe there are more important things to worry about. Like, say, the war in Europe, the new war in the Middle East, the migrant crisis because Europe is being overrun by illegal immigrants, mostly from Africa, the problems with HS2, climate change, the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, the list goes on and on. But what's meant to be the vote winner is making it illegal for us not to use the preferred pronouns of woke numpties. As ever, thanks for watching. The Labour Party, led by Keir Magentis. The Labour Party, led by Keir Sedona. The Labour Party, led by Keir Sportage. The Labour Party, led by Keir Rio. The Labour Party, led by Keir Stinger. The Labour Party, led by Keir Pride. No, that one's far too complicated now. Hello? One fucking word. Welcome to Woke Watch. However, in practice, the law fucking... Oh, bollocks to it. Wouldn't be enforceable. The prosecution would need to prove... Fuck it. Not malcontent. Malicious intent. Are we honestly meant to...